The next company, I'm a little biased. I've come to know Avinash since kind of early 2020. He was actually part of our enterprise tech batch, and then also was simultaneously part of the InsurTech batch. He received great traction from those two ecosystem, and now he's part of fintech. So, I've come to kind of know Avinash quite well through the program. He's a great kind of thought leader in kind of the future work automation space, and a great person to know. With that said, I don't want to promote you too much, Avinash. So, set the bar low so you can exceed expectations. But the next company, Skan, they use artificial intelligence to identify patterns, variants in various business processes to provide full transparency as to kind of how work actually gets done in an enterprise. Because Skan uses computer vision to watch digital screen at scale, it does not need kind of any access to your backend systems. And so this actually makes it really a breeze to install and use. And so kind of they're tremendously applicable for kind of any sorts of process automation, digital transformation efforts. Every one of them can be kind of I would say every instance can, you can achieve a higher ROI by using kind of Skan as a component, because they can help you discover and monitor how work gets done. I think this is super important because I think a lot of people or companies put the cart before the horse, where you'll start digitizing or automating for the sake of it because you can. If you're automating away and process that's already inefficient, you're not changing kind of anything. So I think, as you kind of undergo your automation journey, it's very, very critical that you understand kind of how the work is done in your organization, so you can kind of rethink or reimagine your process to start from scratch, instead of just doing the same thing over and over again that may not in itself work. With that said, I want to hand the baton over to Avinash. You can take it over from here.
But you explained it so well that I feel like saying I'll take questions. But I think you touched upon all the right points, is that this whole notion of transformation and automation or re-engineering compliance, all of this is built upon understanding of the as is at the start of that journey, and the ability to be able to use that as is as a grading point, as a point of comparison with what happens after you transform, right? And so these twin notions of discovery and monitoring, or discovery and comparison, are fundamental to us being able to assign the true ROI to many of these digital transformation projects that we are doing across the industry. Sadly, this is difficult to do because there's a lot of things that are invisible about business processes. We fundamentally, our understanding of business processes has been built on very antiquated ways of either observing people or having business analysts map out work by asking questions fundamentally. And that does not work, because when you ask someone what is it that's happening in a given business process, the answer is not what people are doing. The answer is usually what they're supposed to be doing. So there is always a gap between what is observed and what is stated. Also, when people begin to describe work, especially digital work with all its nuances, exceptions, and permutations, we can only describe it to a certain level of abstraction. It can never go down to the true detail. And that also comes in the way of our discovering of business processes. Now, because we don't discover that, there is this invisible, there's the great amount of opacity in business processes, which then forms a barrier or an impediment towards true success in automation efforts, in both pre and post, in digital transformation, re-engineering of processes, and indeed finding issues in our processes with regard to risk and compliance in real time.
Sorry, quick question. Are you meant to be sharing slides? I just want to confirm, because you're not sharing if you are.
My apologies. Sorry.
We can see. You're good.
Okay, so I spoke through not just one of these slides, is that why is it so difficult to tell what the business process is like on the ground, and why there is a gap between what organizations think is their business process, whereas the real business process on the ground. And this has significant implications in the lack of ROI that we see on many digital transformation projects. So our solution is built completely, Amit, as you said, around observation. So we observe the screen feed of various individuals involved in a given business process. This observation is both continuous and unobtrusive. So for example, we don't say, well, show me what you do, because that is tantamount to asking them what they do. So we observe work in its totality. If there is noise in that work, so be it, across a population of workers. And because we use computer vision, there is no need for any kind of backend integration. From an implication point of view, the results that we produce, or the business process models that we produce, which are data-driven models, based on what is actually happening on the ground in the enterprise, in those business processes, we have a fundamental implication on digital transformation. What tooling, migration of applications, new tooling to be put into place. All of this is fundamentally impacted by data-driven models that we create. Also, from an operational point of view, where do you optimize operations? Where do you, retrain people? Where there is a churn of people, how do you make sure that process is followed? All of those kinds of things, right? And then from a general conformance point of view, it is so simple to say many things, right? It's simple to say to a team that do this, right? For example, before you click pay invoice, make sure you eyeball the work order, right? But it's very difficult to make sure that that is done. So from a vision point of view, that is something very elegantly solved, that you can watch work and you can put up rules as opposed to application toll gates to be able to make sure that the process is compliant. And if it is not, be able to know in near real time where at scale the organization is not compliant with certain set of actions. And of course, because you have such a deep description of what we are doing as human beings with digital systems, this provides a clue into automation, provides deep analysis and indeed process disaggregation diagrams into where you need to automate and what that automation looks like. So we're not an automation company, but we form the basis of all optimization and transformation before automation, and after automation, continuous monitoring and compliance or transformation of other kinds into business processes. I'll do a quick run of what our system looks like, and I'll show you an example of where, without any human input, just by watching the screens, what's the level of detail that can be produced in a given business process. So this happens to be a process where people are going through all kinds of tooling, Citrix-based, web-based applications, and so on and so forth. And there are various nuances of this process that come out by just observing work, and you can simulate it as well. So you can run through various aspects of where the process slowed down, sped up, statistically, who are the people involved, what are the nuances, what are the different variants of work, right? And how do those cluster, when do they happen? All of these things become visible. Again, lots of filters on where there are performance outliers or participant performance, or preset filters on compliance, right? Certain things that people should be doing are not doing. Bottlenecks, as well as predictions on where automation must happen, or where is a good case for automation on behavior that has been observed across the process. Build dashboards around process, around participant behavior and participant work, throughput. So capacity allocation becomes easy. A similar thing from an application point of view, where applications intersect work, comparisons between various forms of work by different people or different variants of work. And also a very deep record of work in terms of being able to replay a historical piece of work or historical way in which people go about doing their tasks. So what does Skan do for the enterprise? Understand and optimize before the intervention, and monitor, manage the impact after the digital intervention. We do not automate, but we do map the work before you automate and monitors after automation. We drive continuous compliance, we benchmark work, and then create insights into the people, process, and tooling part of the business process.
So
currently we are at play. Yeah.
Sorry, we're out of time. So sure. I'm going to ask a question. So leave that screen, leave your use cases on there, Avinash.
Sure.
So Gina, move back to use cases so at least people can see read it on there.
Sure.
And for audience, if you want to meet with Skan, please vote on the poll that's shown up. I do quickly have a question for you, because I think it's important to understand kind of the kind of nuances within process discovery. You've got companies like Salonis that use kind of the event log based solution. Can you explain to the audience kind of where the key differences are and where I guess Skan shines?
I think there's both a technical difference and a philosophical difference. The philosophical difference is, what is work? Is work the committed states that are left behind in the databases, or is work what happens between those committed states? And so when we look at approaches that are built on backend data, we're essentially looking at committed states of work, whereas a lot of nuance of work and a lot of opportunities for transformation, optimization, automation, risk, and compliance actually lie between those committed states of work. So by the very definition, if if you want to understand human digital work, then we want to understand human digital interactions. And therefore, the need, as we are doing, is to stay on the screen. A bit of a technical difference is that when you look at the industry and the audience that we serve in largely, which is insurance companies, mortgage companies, financial institutions, not all of them have systems that are amenable and ready to be interrogated from a backend data perspective. They may have, legacy systems, automate multiple, customized systems and modern web application, all of them playing at the same time. It's a very difficult thing to get to the backend data, even if you wanted to, if it was useful to you. Much easier, much more elegant and powerful to look at work from the screen. That would be the two things why I think our approach, in some sense, is much needed by the industry today, and a lot of our customers are adopting it as well.
And then quick question, how do you charge customers? Are you recurring or pay as you go?
No, we're recurring, and it's entirely based on the user population whose work is being mapped, modeled, and managed.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Avinash. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
The next